All right, what's up, my ninjas? My guest with me today is Professor Brannon Beliso. We go way back, probably like 5, 6 years ago. He was one
Mhm.
of the very first guys on my original Being a Ninja show. And I had the opportunity to go out to one of his seminars down in out west in San Francisco in his Millbrae location. He's got two amazing dojos in the San Francisco and Millbrae. Super sought after speaker in the martial arts space. So I'm super pumped to have you on the show. Thanks for being on the show, Brandon.
I'm grateful to be here, my brother.
Thank
Very
you so
grateful.
much.
Very grateful.
Even though you're out on the West Coast, me and you were arch nemesis last year. You're in the Golden State and Toronto. So
Yes,
no season this year, so we're cool.
none. So it is cool.
Awesome. So I want to take it back. I want to go back to how you got started in, let's say, started in martial arts, because that's really what you're.
Yeah, I mean, my niche is martial arts, but I was a DJ for 20 years. I was under a record deal with Warner Brothers for 5, 6 years. You know, I'm an entertainer, but first and foremost, I'm a martial artist. I started in 1967 as a 5-year-old kid. I just turned 58. So I've been doing this a long time, man. And I never saw the martial arts as a viable business, you know, because when we grew up, it was clubs and stuff. And then in the 80s, I was totally disenchanted. Karate Kid came out and everybody was throwing up contracts and black belts. You see a 6-year-old kid walking around with a black belt. So where I came from, that was a huge no-no. And it wasn't until I finished my music career that I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And Taibo came out. And Taibo was huge, right? And it was DJing, it was music, it was entertainment, it was martial arts, it was all of it. So I went out and got certified by the American Council on Exercise, the American College of Sports Medicine, and I got AFA, which was the Aerobic Fitness something Association. AFA, I don't even know the acronym anymore. And I went out and, you know, and I really embraced it because I loved it. It's not that it was a fad for many martial arts schools that just took on Taibo because it was a fad. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing master's classes and body revival and IRSHA conventions. So on the fitness end of it, I think that's why 20 years later, we still have such a sustainable fitness kickboxing program. Because number one, we love it.
Mm-hmm.
So it fits our value system. And number two, we've constantly innovated it and innovated it, you know, to stay on the tip of relevancy.
I've got to say, like, I've been following your stuff for a while, Brandon, and one thing you stay consistent on is your messaging. Of all the fads that go on, because there's marketing fads that come on every little way, that like marketing tactic comes on, but you stay super consistent with how you position your business. Like, how do you do it?
Well, write this down, ninjas. Trust is the last true form of marketing. That's it. And people spend a lot of time and energy perpetrating a fraud. We know that there's full-on consultants, you know, via the internet that have no experience whatsoever. There's life coaches out there that take a 1-year certification, and all of a sudden, you know, at 23 years old, I have the life experience to consult someone else on their life. I've got a huge challenge with that.
Yeah.
You know, I have a huge challenge with that. So I think that's the scary part with the internet. And just growing up, where I grew up really poor in the ghetto, we spent a lot of energy projecting an image so you didn't get beat up. That's all that was.
Yeah.
Right? You perpetrate a fraud, you stand a certain way, you dress a certain way, you talk a certain way, because you were afraid of getting beaten up. That was it. And I just find that's a waste of energy because, you know, Joe, we never get to our truer selves. And it's when you spend that time and energy of self-discovery and you find out who you really are, that you can live an authentic, transparent life, right?
Sure.
And that's vital. That's vital to the message.
For sure. But I mean, you've been at it a long time. So there must have been some trials and tribulations through finding your authentic self.
Absolutely.
People that are early in their business, they're copying everybody, trying to figure out what's worked for them. So what did you do to figure that out?
You know, it was always a natural progression. I was always the odd kid out. I was always the guy who walked to the beat of his own drum. So I think the harder part was going the other direction, fitting in. You know, because you're born perfect, right? You've got kids, right? How old's your youngest one?
3 years old now.
Right, but think about it. When they were born, perfect, right? Just perfect. And then when somebody said, good Brannon, bad Brannon. First set of values. If I act like this, I'm accepted. right? If I don't, oh, I'm chastised, I'm punished, I'm criticized. So that happens early on. And we won't even mention something like Fitness Magazine or someone breaking your heart in high school or a bully in second grade, on and on and on. I mean, pretty soon your authentic self, your true self is buried under all these layers. And then we spend all these years, in therapy and self-discovery to peel away those layers to get back to who you are. Can you see that image?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I went through that. In early college, I partied, right, and got lost in that for a little bit. And then I was bankrupt at 25. Then, me and my dad has always had differences. Yeah. And if you read my book, Live, Learn, Grow, I mean, I was molested as a child. I was in a foster home from about 18 months until almost 5 years old. So I've had a lot of war stories, but I believe they all happen because, one, you can't go back and change them.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think we spend a lot of energy trying to correct the past, and you can't. And that's why Lao Tse would say, if I live in the past, I'm depressed. If I live in the future, I'm anxious. But if I can live right here, right now, in the present moment, that's where the gifts are. That's where the opportunities are in this moment. So that's a big one for me.
Dude, I mean, you said some deep stuff that you went through as a child. Like, how did that affect, like, I know you're talking about not living in the past, but how do you think that's helped you grow and develop to who you are right now?
Well, a lot. I mean, a lot. And when I grew up in the 60s, see, the thing that was really trippy, people thought in the 60s was really, the civil rights movement. I remember Martin Luther King, but I sat on a weird fence. I was a half-breed. I'm half Filipino and I'm half Italian. So Italians want nothing to do with you. The Filipinos wanted nothing to do with me. So I was always the odd man out. It was a different form of prejudice, like we're seeing today with everything going on with this COVID-19 with the Asian community. I'm appalled by it. My wife is Chinese, and it just appalls me, the whole situation, with the way people are behaving with that. I just saw one yesterday where a reporter was told she's doing a report, an Asian reporter, and someone shouts from her from the beach, "Go back to China." It's like, what's wrong with you? But unfortunately, from the top down, that's the message that's being preached, right?
Yeah.
And it's a huge challenge here in America. I don't know how it's up where you're at.
Oh yeah, there's stuff going on all the time around here. But I think the one thing you're working through it no matter what.
Well, absolutely. I think who's really inspiring, a good message for that, is Nelson Mandela. I mean, how many people spend 20 plus years in jail and come out to be president? That's amazing. And the thing he said, they could imprison my body, but they couldn't imprison my mind or my heart. So really, it's a mindset that you cultivate. Now more than ever, we need the resilience of our mindset. But again, drawing from the past historically, what I love so much about the Taekwondo community, I just posted a thing about that, is they respect their elders. They draw upon the wisdom of their elders. Mm-hmm. So there's certain rituals of life that should still be there that make us who we are, right? That's important. My wife said I'm more Chinese than she is. Because I celebrate all those things. I love Chinese New Year. I love the whole process. When my wife and I got married, I had to bring a pig and stand outside.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here to get married. I bring this pig, and the mom gives me a belt and a wallet, and I give her $99. I welcome those rituals because they've stood the test of time, and it gives us, clear messages on certain things that we should value now more than ever, with as crazy as things are. Yeah. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, of anything, your values are really, really important. If you read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, no matter what the business climate, no matter what the trends, the one thing that should never change, never, ever change are your values.
Right. Absolutely. And you developed them over the years. So, you dealt with a lot of stuff growing up, and you still were able to build a successful business, but it wasn't all smooth sailing the whole time.
No way. No freaking way. Because I came into an industry that's dominated by contracts, upgrades, sales strips. And I never believed in any of that stuff. It never resonated with me. So when I launched One Martial Arts, I had no data for a clear path to success. So that's why I looked outside at companies like Apple and Zappos and Genentech and Microsoft and Lululemon, these companies that really focus on the culture and the why of their business and their purpose, a purpose-driven business. And for us, it's service. Mm-hmm. I mean, I make no mistake, whether it's a restaurant, a dry clean, or martial arts, or your business, we are service.
Absolutely.
We're here to serve the community. And once you embrace that as your purpose, the potential for profitability just opens wide up.
Okay. So, I mean, you're at a place where now business is churning along, you've got stuff down, but like, take me back to like the struggles. Cause I know and the learnings from the struggles, what would you say has been some of your biggest like fail forwards in terms of your business career?
Well, I think, you know, going to the whole mindset, I've been called the master of the mindset. I'm big on the mindset is I embrace failure. Failure is part of success. And as I shared with my son, Steph Curry, one of the most prolific 3-point shooters, misses what, 53% of the time. Over half of the time he's failing. So I welcome failure because it's the learning I need to become successful. So, I mean, let's just look at right now, man. Right now, right? I went from 1,000 members down to 800, right? We went from teaching live to total virtual. We watched our income slashed, and we've pivoted hard. And, you know, gratefully we're here today. I look out here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lessons going on right now. So there's 4 private lessons and a kickboxing class going on that's being broadcast on the East Coast. And that's because we pivot. Right. I'm not a big whiner. I don't spend a lot of time whining or debating. Is this a government thing? Is it a hoax? That's a waste of energy and time. I'm a doer. And the big thing was, as soon as they said to me, you're closed. The second thing became, well, I love teaching martial arts. I love making a difference. So how are we going to do that? And then virtual was the only alternative. So we didn't debate whether people could learn martial arts virtually or not. It was never an issue. It was simply, if you told me, Joe, the only way I could personal train you was I'm standing on a roof across the street and you're on the other roof because there's a zombie apocalypse, would you find a way to teach?
Heck yeah.
It did. Heck yeah. And that was it. So we've never debated that issue. And people are still debating that issue, whether people could or should, or is virtual learning good? It's irrelevant. It's the only medium we've been given to execute our craft and make a difference in people's lives. Right? So now more than ever, because smart entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur, I know you've gone through the whole gamut, right? From here's the best case scenario, here's worst case scenario, bankruptcy, losing everything. What does that all look like? That's smart business. That's smart business. You know, one of our, a guy that I admire a lot, Emerson Wong, right? He just closed 2 of his big locations because it's smart business. Yeah. It's smart business. Cut your losses, regroup, and when this thing clears up, be ready to execute. And we're looking at that too. If it comes to that, I will close 1 location, you know, if it gets to that point, because we have about 8 months saved. If it gets to that point, we'll consider it. It might be smart business.
And you know, and I think listening to you speak about this, like 8 months saved, that's like unheard of most businesses having those types of cash reserves. Right. There must have been a way you learned this stuff. Like, was it through trial and error that you knew to keep that much cash on hand? Well,
I mean, let's go back to childhood. Being poor, growing up poor, money was always a source of pain, embarrassment, shame. You know, my parents would say things like, what do you think? Money grows on trees? What do you think? I'm made of money, right? I go to school and all my clothes was secondhand. I didn't have the new Air Jordans. Everything was secondhand. My high school, I graduated in my father's suit. So, but when the huge mind shift was when I recognized money is purely a vehicle. Money is a tool to accumulate more money and to be able to do things. But if you base your self-worth upon how many zeros are at the end of your bank account, you know, you base your self-worth, like they said in Wall Street, by how thick your wallet is, you're in really big trouble. Because good economy, if money's your God, you make money. Bad economy, money's your God, you tank.
That's where we're headed to. And
we are. So, I mean, to reinvent ourselves and look at where we are today, you know, we've stabilized things. We've stopped the bleeding. We're holding at 800 members. I'm very grateful every day.
That's phenomenal.
Every day. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. I mean, you know, just for the listeners and the viewers that kind of don't know your background, I mean, can you share your story on like how you started in One Martial Arts and
originally One Martial Arts in the year 2000 was called One Health and Fitness. And I imagine this eats East meets West gym. Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, martial arts. We're going to have a juice bar with green tea and all these, you know, herbal green drinks. We're going to have an acupuncturist on site and all this. I was never going to do that in 2,200 square feet. Never. But I wasn't thinking. The minute I could pay the rent, I got rid of all of them and I turned it to One Martial Arts. I focused on one brand, one purpose, one main demographic, kids martial arts, and we took off. We took off, but I was trying to make rent. So from there, but the thing about that, we started that when the .com busted. So that was a bad day, followed by 9/11. So here I am, a business that's 1 year old, right? In the middle of 9/11 and the .com. But what I understood, and on top of it, my sister had died in December of 9/11. So it was a very, very rough time. But the one thing my papa always taught me was how to look at the picture and say, versus adding more, it's the takeaway. You know, one of my clients would say to me, I want to make more money. First thing I would say is cut your expenses. Cut your expenses. Yeah. It's that simple. You want to make more money right now, cut your expenses. We laid off 30 employees within 2 days. 2 days. And I kept my core staff, that's full-time, 401ks, medical benefits, vacation. Those guys, you know, are my core. So I got to hang with them. I got to keep them going. Right.
That's the unsexy thing about business is sometimes you gotta, like you were saying, cut your losses. You're willing to close down a business if it came down to it.
If it comes down to that, how many Starbucks open every day and close every day?
Yeah.
All the time. So that part is business. And someone was saying that, you know, they're destroying the legacy I built 20 years. I said, sir, with all due respect, those 20 years are dead and gone. Let's look at the legacy for the next 20. That's what we should be focusing our attention on. Right.
So you started One Martial Arts in 2000. How do you remove that, you know, that emotional connection to this brick and mortar location that you have? You know?
Well, I think number one is to understand, with or without One Martial Arts, I am still Brannon Beliso. With or without One Martial Arts, I'm whole within myself. Right. And that's the big thing. We have all these material attachments. The memories are great. You know, I can sit there toe to toe with anyone and talk war stories of tournaments and all that. But to me, it's irrelevant. It's a memory and it's fleeting. It's gone. I walked into the San Francisco location. I haven't been there in 2 months, over 2 months. And it's just a building. It really is. The memories we have, the people we'll keep relationships with, if they're relationships of value that need to continue to grow and nurture, and we'll find a way. But again, it's not a matter of, I'm not going to be the captain who goes down with the ship. I think it's romantic to watch the Titanic, right? The guy stands on the bow. It's wonderful to watch Perfect Storm while George Clooney stays there going down with the ship as Mark Wahlberg swims away. I think a smart leader would be sitting there once the lifeboats are gone. He's going to start pulling up planks and making boats out of them and throw, you know, that's what I'd be focusing on. That's going down with the ship, fighting to the end, not standing there on the bow romantically while the violinists play before they get, you know, swamped up. So that's what we're doing. I mean, we will do what is necessary because we will survive this. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day, one of my clients, and I said to them, I said, you realize 30 to 50% of the martial arts schools will be gone when this is done. They will. They will, because they didn't save money. They didn't set their businesses up right, et cetera, for whatever reason. That means those who do have money will be looking for something. Now, we know there's a lot of unemployment. A lot of people will not have work. But if 3 or 4 other schools are gone, would you be picking up the residual if you're the only man standing? Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. So the 20% we've lost today, we could replace, this with someone else's 20%.
Yeah.
Because they've closed.
It's like, I consider this like the great cleansing of businesses.
Well, it is, because there are a lot of people out there that probably maybe shouldn't be running businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, we've been going through like some of the craziest bull markets in history, right? With the growth of the economy.
Well, but look at it. I mean, what stocks are thriving right now? Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, tech companies. So I think this is through everything like this, when it happened with the mortgage crisis in 2008, when it happened with the .com, when all these different things happened, there are opportunities. Now, out of the billionaires in this world, over the past 3 months, they've increased their wealth by $434 billion. The billionaires have.
With a B.
The billionaires. How do you add another 434 billion, between all of them?
Yeah. It's
ridiculous. But I've seen it. I've been buying in and out of Apple and in and out of Amazon, for months now, making money. Not a lot, but I'm making money. Yeah. And the thing that it's really taught me, everybody thought you can't learn martial arts virtually. Nobody ever did it, right? No way. But by default, we've been forced into it, right?
Yeah.
We've been forced into it. So now people are starting to accept it. They're starting to trust it. And those of us who've pivoted really hard, we've become great at teaching virtually.
Oh, for sure. So do you think then this would be the future? Like
Absolutely.
Like students not even going into dojos anymore, everything being delivered digitally.
I think there needs to be a hybrid model. I think there needs to be a balance. Like, do I mind promoting somebody like we did this last belt cycle? I don't mind that. But we had a collective about testing for black belt virtually, and we said no. We were supposed to do a black belt test last month, and we just freaking said no. We're not going to do that because these kids have been training with us live, all this live classes. To test them virtually is not cool. So we decided not to. I think, when we talk about the higher level of martial arts, it has to be done in person. Just so there's that authenticity. And I, as a black belt, can look at this guy and go, yeah, I kicked his butt for 4 hours in a test. That I'm reasonable with. But am I okay promoting someone from white to yellow belt? Absolutely. We have people coming back to us that had stopped training because now they can train virtually.
Right. For distance, now your radius that you could serve is way bigger.
That's right. That's right. And so if we're looking to get new students and we're making that shift now, the main focus of our first couple of months was to stop the bleeding and take care of our tribe. That was our whole focus, Joe. Stop the bleeding, take care of our tribe. We haven't done a virtual parents' night in. We've done none of that. All we've done is focus on that tribe. And once we felt the stability in that tribe, now we're beginning to go out and we're running Facebook ads to get new members and things like that.
That's awesome. Now, you touched on something saying that like this is probably one of the greatest opportunities that we're going to run into.
Absolutely.
If you were talking to a young entrepreneur ready to get started with a business at this point, what would be that one tip or one? I wouldn't say one. I'm not going to say there's only one thing, but what type of advice would you give a new entrepreneur getting into business now?
When you said that, one thing popped in my mind instantly. When's a good time to get into real estate? Now. When's a good time to get in the stock market? Now. When's a good time to start a business? Now. I started a business at the worst time.
You did.
Dot-com bust in 9/11. I broke my first $1 million when the mortgage crisis hit. I mean, it just, one, you have to be very clear about who you are, what you have to offer, and what makes you special and different from everybody else. Because really, what is your niche? What is your why? And then you better educate yourself because there's different skill sets. And if you're, let's say you're a fitness trainer and you're a great fitness trainer, that's a skill set. That is not the same skill set as being a successful small business owner. Different skill set completely. And then being an entrepreneur, that's a different skill set. So it's recognizing what is my wheelhouse. And if I want to move into being a successful small business owner, I got to get those skills. If I want to move into being an entrepreneur, I got to get that skill set too, right? I hear too many people say, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to teach. Well, talk to Mike Tyson. Talk to Michael, God rest his soul, Michael Jackson. All these people that were great at their craft, but were terrible at business and just got screwed over by accountants and bad investments and everything because they knew nothing about entrepreneurship or running small businesses.
Right. So we're talking to the people that are getting into business, say young entrepreneurs, say they're good at their craft. They figure out where they want to be. Would you say the next step is then just start getting good at being an entrepreneur or businessman?
Well, you have to read the right things. You have to surround yourself with the right people. Again, if you're a young entrepreneur and you haven't really started this business, you could reduce a lot of those mistakes by reading the right books, by doing the right things. And again, it depends what type of business you're in. But I would generally believe whether it's a restaurant, a martial arts school, most of us are service business driven businesses.
Absolutely.
Why is Nevada suffering? Why is Hawaii going to be one of the last states to recover? Because it's, service. People go there on vacation and people aren't going to be flying for a while. So if you're a young entrepreneur, be ready to make mistakes. Be ready to mess up. I think the one things a lot of young entrepreneurs do not do, and they get really offended when I talk with them, is you're peeing on my dream, man. This is my dream. I understand it's your dream, but I'm like this. I teach meditation, that you ground yourself into the earth, so you're logical and you're smart, but then your branches go up into the heavens where you dream and you create and all that. You know what I mean? I think that's important. I'm not going to jump out of an airplane without a chute. It's not smart. It's the same thing here. So if you're a young entrepreneur, I want you to write a business plan. Be serious. Write a business plan. That education by itself, from beginning to end, will teach you what holes there are in your game.
Right.
Because you got to see the holes in your game. But I get it. You're young. You're excited. I've worked with a couple. We have so many startups here, Joe. And the thing I love about them is they're willing to work 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week. They're just gung-ho. We're going to do this, but that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
right? It's
burn
about
out.
a gradual, and be patient with that process, right? Be patient with that process. Everyone thinks they're going to be the next YouTuber or TikToker or this or that, when the reality is, those things are cultivated over time, right? So if you have to be willing to put in the time, because on the worst of days, like right now, right, we're in a very challenging time. I still love life. I still love what I do. I still love the opportunity to make a difference. Right. So you're going to have those days where you lose money because you have to reimburse a client. You're going to have those days where you make no money. Right. When you put your head down on the pillow, you got to be cool with what you did. So, you got to know your craft, but you got to know what's needed to support it. Right.
You touched on a lot of things there, but I want to go back to something you said specifically about a lot of startups. And a lot of startups, they come in and they kind of spend all this money growing, dumping money without eking out a profit, which is the lifeblood.
Well, look at Peloton.
Business, yeah.
Look at Peloton. And I read recently that Peloton's in that same position. Uber until recently. Amazon.
WeWork.
Right. WeWork. God, WeWork's going to be in big trouble because no one's going to go to those spaces, right, and share them. But that's what makes it the Wild West. That's what makes it freaking cool, right? Yeah. Because if that thing breaks and you get bought up, we're not talking about, the 3-4 million that you raised in the first round, or let's even 10 million between round B and C, right? And the sweat equity that went into it. We're talking about if that thing, if a company's valued, if 14's been put into it and people put in 2 to 3 years time, that thing's going to go for double, for 30 million, right? So I like startups. I actually shifted my money out of the market. I don't know if I saw this or I felt this, but I shifted a good percentage of my portfolio and moved it into startups. So I've got money in a couple of different startups that I believe in.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
I like startups, but we're here in Silicon Valley, right, Joe?
Yeah, you're right in the heart of it all.
Startups are a dime a dozen.
Oh,
they really are. But if you look at people like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kevin Durant has a whole company built around looking for startups.
Yeah, media companies and everything. They've expanded.
Looking for startups.
They've diversified quite a bit.
Because you know what? If they lose, I don't care.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, if you're going to invest, be ready to lose it. If you've got this emotional attachment to that money, whether it's the stock market or a business or anything, if you started with zero, guess what? If you had to start at zero again, I think you could figure it out.
I think you could do it faster because you did it already once. You could build it back faster. This whole theme of this talk, I think, had to go. It goes down to the theme of knowing sticking to what your values are, and listening to your values. You don't think of money as even a possession. You're willing to put it out there in what you believe in, just like how you invest in startups.
Yep. Otherwise money becomes your God. You stress out over it. How many rich people that are miserable? You hear about it all the time, right? The Inquirer makes a living off creating magazines on people's grief, especially rich, successful people, right? They love to see rich, successful people suffer, right? Drug addict, they love that. And to me, what I love about being out here is most of the millionaires and multimillionaires are driving, well, now it's Tesla, but they would drive Priuses, right? They were in freaking pair of jeans and a t-shirt, classic Mark Zuckerberg. And I dig that. I dig people, the ones who walk around, and that's why I'm careful. You watch these guys on the internet running through a mansion. Look at my Bentley. Look at my Rolex. It's all show and no go where I come from. And it's wonderful to sit in a room. And I've been really blessed to sit in some amazing environments with people of substantial wealth, really substantial wealth, and be able to stand toe to toe because they don't look at you. You can't sit in the big boy chair if you don't have the same amount of zeros as me. What they're mining for is data, and they're always looking for new creative ideas. So it's fascinating.
Sorry, my kid's going and yelling at me in the room over there. All right, just for the sake of time, thank you for sharing all that information and all your stories and all your war stories there. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you, Brannon?
Well, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere.
He's all over the place.
Yeah, just Google my name, Brannon Beliso. You'll find TED Talks. I did something amazing. I was at the Cookie one. That was a huge highlight in my life. I'm not even Taekwondo. I'm not even Korean. And I spoke in Korea last year. So that was cool. I was at Harvard last year. Just Google my name.
Dude,
my Brannon Beliso website's down right now because we're revamping it. because the e-learning products and that whole internet platform's blowing up. And so we're going to capitalize on that. Because moving forward, I just read an article, what companies are going to do really, really well. And companies like Zoom, right? Meeting services going to do really well. Stuff like Uber Eats, like that, is going to do really well. They really anticipate the whole entertainment, recreational, vacation industry to take a huge, huge comeback.
Sure.
I mean, right now, I'm buying into freaking Norwegian lines, $16 a share.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to come back. It can't get any worse, right? It can't get any worse. So you can find me anywhere and everywhere. And if you message me at Facebook, you got a question or something, I'm always there. You know that, Joe. And you reached out, I'm there. That's what I do. I think that's important.
I appreciate it. One of the things is you're definitely a ninja. I wouldn't say you hustle in silence, because we see you're omnipresent, but you kill with success. So thanks for being on the show.
No, thank you so much. It's my honor. It's my honor.
You.